Hello Internet! It is time for another Wednesday's Serial, August 22nd, and I'm gonna run down some of the comics I read this week. First up is The Punisher, and this really ends the arc and kind of goes to where we're all expecting, but maybe not exactly in the way it was expected to be happening. But I'll be curious to see the ramifications of what comes out. I don't really want to talk about it because it's really just the end of the arc. If you haven't been reading it, it's nothing but spoiler territory. And if you have been reading it, there's no reason why you wouldn't be reading this issue, right? So there's really nothing to say except it is an excellent issue. And if you have not been reading The Punisher, I understand. I mean, I was kind of confused at first too, but any character written well is a good character, and that is proven with this, and this has just been a great run so far, and this issue is just another reason why. I know some people aren't so hot on the art, depending on the artist. I think they all do a good job. Some may be a little better than others, but this issue, the art certainly wasn't holding anything back. Second, The Flash is done to Flash. It was a fun, quick issue, really playing off the idea that the rogues are more interesting than the hero, thank goodness, because the Flash himself is really pretty boring. But it just kind of happened. It's really playing with the idea of the rogues, and this is really more their story and seeing what's going on. And my only real issue with it is that it's a lead-in to the annual coming out soon, which should be a decent story, but I'm against the idea of annuals being anything but, you know, kind of a self-contained story. I mean, if it's just a lead, why not just make the next issue oversized or something? There's really this need in the industry to make everything uniform, and there's no reason for that, right? Like, we just want good comics. We'll pay more when there's more to it, and we won't when we won't. We tend to get hooked on the series we like, so, you know, just put out a good product, and that's what we care about. And next is Rachel Rising, which it was kind of Terry Moore's take on zombies, but I don't really feel it's zombies as much as just simply undead. Hopefully to some of you that's a bit more intriguing, because I'm kind of sick of zombies, and there's a lot of lore and ideal attached to what a zombie is, and it can run a few different ways, or not run, but this book really isn't about that. It's really about playing with some of the ideas of the undead. And this issue particular brings in ideas about the Salem witch trials, and more importantly, it introduces a character, Lilith, and really playing on the Lilum. And as a fan of Neon Genesis Evangelion, and having looked into a little bit of that, this really hooked me in a little more than past issues have. And having looked into that a bit already, it just makes me so much more excited for what's next. And whereas I've been going along and enjoying this, I am really truly hooked now, and I can't wait for more. Terry Moore definitely has earned all of his credibility. There's no need to question that in any way, and this book is just turning out to be great. And if it really plays with all these elements in a strong way that's been set up, I really think it will be a stronger and more enjoyable read than Echo in the end, despite a much slower setup. Now, next up, I want to talk about two books because they're leading into the same little corner of the Marvel Universe. And the reason these are tighter, of course, is because they're now written by Cullen Bunn. Well, I say now. Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe has been a fun story, a real departure from Daniel Way's Deadpool, which is nothing but thankful. And I hope to go into a little bit more of that at a later date. But Cullen Bunn's Deadpool mini here really breaks away from the ha-ha laughing Deadpool and really plays with the fourth wall breaking idea in a way that no way could ever be continuity. It has a fun little twist at the end, but it really plays with the idea of killing the Marvel Universe in a way that none of the other Kill the Marvel Universe books have, which is great for a Deadpool thing. But it really plays on that idea when Deadpool starts killing and stops joking around as much. There's really something different there, and seeing that understanding of the character, whereas it may not be a way that Deadpool's been written before, is interesting enough that I have so much more faith that when he takes over on Deadpool regular, it's going to be so much more of a better series and so much more to honor what has happened with Deadpool before, which in so many ways has really been a book that pushed Marvel in new directions and allowed Marvel to be innovative without taking a risk on one of their big characters. And as popular as Deadpool is now, he's still a character that they don't mind screwing around with, and that's really good because it allows him to be popular yet play to his strength, which is that almost anything could happen with him, which is part of the reason that he's so enjoyable. Now, Cullen Bunn is also just really taken over on Venom. He was co-writing on the last arc, apparently, and now he's going full hog, and he's already taking a slightly different direction than where the issues had been going so far, and is really playing off the Circle of Hell mini that a lot of people hated because it was the .1, .2, .3, .4, which, you know, get over the numbering, a story's a story, whatever. And this issue really played off that, but was written in such a stronger way and really makes me interested to see what's next, and really sets it up to allow the character to be a little bit different than before. It is already expanding the universe and playing within different ways, and I was kind of worried about this issue and kind of really testing the waters, seeing, you know, well, Remender's not on it anymore. And it was really his take on it that really drew me in, even knowing that Dan Slott really created the premise. And this issue just sold me on this idea of Venom all over again. So if it's been something you've been kind of wondering about, not sure, this might be a great time to jump on, because basically everything that happened that you need to know is explained in the prologue, and then we're on to something new. Next is Ninja Turtles 13, and the new penciler has arrived. Andy Kuhn, mostly of a Fire Breather lore, I believe. And I have to say, I was really disappointed with that choice. There were so many great one-shots that came out of the micro-series that they've been doing with all the characters, and pretty much any other one of those artists that they used in those would have been a better choice to go forward with than this. It's not that Andy Kuhn can't do certain things, but the way he draws the turtles is very bizarre. He has this weird toothy thing going on that makes me think like more Looney Tunes than like Ninja Turtles. I don't know, it certainly doesn't work for the comic, and it does improve as the issue goes on, but I'm hoping this is short-lived. However, the script was awesome, and we're seeing Casey come in after his one-shot. He's all beat up by his dad, and the turtles are really worried about that. And then Raphael storms off, because in some ways, in this new series, he has more kinship to Casey than the rest of the turtles, which is an awesome play with the character and really allows something more unique to come out of it. And you see Splinter chase after him, and the best way to go about it is showing that these are Ninja Turtles, and that assassination is part of being a ninja, and that's something that I really appreciate, because that's something that always bugged me about it. And then also you're really playing with the idea of Karai and the Shredder, and kind of getting to some weird stuff, and maybe a touch of, I'd almost say, mythology to the Shredder, and it's really an interesting way to develop the villains while going about that, and kind of this issue that's kind of quieter to kind of help set up the next big act. And next, many of you may not believe it, but I really did want to get here to prove that I'm not blindsided by things. My least favorite comic of the week was Amazing Spider-Man. And that's doubly disappointing, because this is supposed to be a big celebration issue. And it isn't. It's written a lot like an annual in some ways, except for the story continuing on. Of course, if they'd just taken the main story and crammed it all in, they probably could fit it in. But the idea being that there's this kid who goes to Midtown High, and he goes to a science experiment that all the kids have to go to, and then an accident happens when the scientist, Mr. Peter Parker, shows them the Parker particles. You know, like Pym particles or whatever, but not tied to galactic something or other. Anyways, this kid gets super powers, but we're talking like a bit beyond Superman level here. I mean, he can project force fields, he can fly, he can do energy blasts, probably some other stuff as it goes along. And they're saying the only limitation so far is that he can only do one at a time. Okay. And then Mr. Fantastic pulls Peter aside and says this kid is an alpha level threat, whereas like the Phoenix or Scarlet Witch or any of that is an omega level threat. This is alpha, so kid's stupid powerful. And they say Spider-Man should be his mentor. He kind of tries to teach him about great power, great responsibility, and this kid accidentally is told by Peter that he is like the most powerful super duper kid ever, which of course is a mistake, and then it goes from there. And it was a little painful to read, especially because this kid's playing off all this fame and all that, and doing everything that Spider-Man wish he could have done in high school by kind of just coming out with it, and that'll probably all have ramifications later, but I really just want to see this kid die and be done with it, because I don't want Spider-Man playing with this sidekick kid forever. And it's just, this has been the single worst issue of Spider-Man that has been published with the Amazing Spider-Man moniker since One More Day. Go out of your way to not pick this up. On top of all that, it is $5. I had to pay through the nose. Or, I'm sorry, $5.99, $6. Yeah, just don't do it. There's a backstory that's kind of haha, but it's not worth your time. It's not worth your money, and it is really... not only is it a disappointing issue after an arc that was kind of shaky for a lot of people that I really appreciated, but it is really kind of a black mark, considering this is supposed to be a huge jumping on point, a huge anniversary issue. Like, rarely do I think so much rides on an issue, but this is just disappointing. However, I bet none of you would have guessed my pick of the week, and that is Planetoid. Fingers lining up. Alright. First of all, I mean, look at this cover. I mean, that... I don't know, just something about it was so intriguing, right? Just this blue frog amidst the gray. And, this issue... If this was written, like, anywhere else, I feel like this issue would have been 3 issues of any other comic. But in this, we kind of really see the heart of what Planetoid is supposed to be, and that's more of a Lord of the Flies survival story. A lot more about making the most out of what you have, and there's a lot of accomplishment with these things as they kind of slowly develop the gears of society. And I'm sure more will come with that as politics become more of a thing. There's already a touch of it in this issue, as a character is very much against our protagonist, the leader, and storms off, only to come back in a very horrific way by very much exposing the threat of, essentially, the other to the society that's slowly being established. And you see them slowly hunting and gathering, and just the story of how they're finding ways to survive, do new foods, and make the most out of what they can. It's rare that you get a sense of progress in reading a story and something like that, and it's great, because whereas there's a lot of tension, it's very much, so far, non-combative. But I'm sure, you know, the high action will come. But this issue, I've never seen so much camaraderie and idea and people willing to get along in something in a way that makes sense in a story, and yet still the story progresses. Because it's just versus nature, essentially, just survival. And it is such a great comic for that, for doing something that, I mean, really, in the grand scheme of fiction and all that, this isn't anything that revolutionary. But for, you know, a monthly comic and that sort of thing, it is something that's just so refreshing, so great, and certainly not, you know, to the level of Saga, but something that I think is, you know, there and adding to the atmosphere of the time right now, and saying that, you know, comics can be more, and this book is certainly not the best thing on the shelves this month, but this week I certainly think it was. So, you know, let me know what you guys thought, agree, disagree, like, don't like. And my question of the week this week is basically the idea that a lot of people complain when books don't come out every month. A lot of people are very upset by the idea that Saga is going to take a month off and come back and, oh, I can't wait for it. And I know, I get it, people are excited, and that's great. It's great that, you know, there's a comic that have people in that much of a fervor. But at the same time, I'm very much of the opinion that I'd rather wait for something I'm enjoying that much for them to get it right and do it up to the level of quality that I've come to enjoy, rather than hoping for them to rush something out and then become disappointed by it. And really, so much of this comes down to people expecting a monthly schedule. And I'm not sure if any of you remember, like, bi-monthly comics, or certainly have been tri-monthly comics, but how would you guys feel about people taking their time and then releasing, like, every, like, half year or something, a trade's worth of material at once, then putting it out, and then it's quality, and then you wait for the next book like that? And I just, how open are you people to more modular ideas of how you get your issues? Because I know I've been put off in the past by seeing series and it's like, it's $15 and it's hardcover for something new and I don't know. I'd rather wait or try to find it on sale, and then of course it's some weird indie book and then you never see it again. I'm trying to, you know, open my taste for that. And there was one Shadowgate, I believe, or Shadow Law, that was it, that I kind of waited on for 1 week and then I couldn't find it, and then I got lucky to get it off Amazon at a decent price. And whereas it wasn't the greatest book ever, I'm glad I got it because it was something different. Also, a sci-fi take from a Christian perspective. It was something worth reading. And I don't know, I'm just curious to where you guys are with the idea of more modular comic releases. So, comments and stuff, and I will see you all later. Have a great week, read some comics, and be awesome.